Well, Davos is always a very intense period. You've got dialogues and forums and meetings on the side. But for me, the five things I take away as we leave Davos are firstly, how there's really a perfect storm of crises. You've got the pandemic, you've got the Ukraine war, and they are feeding into energy prices and food prices and cost of living. And it's all coming together. And someone described how, like it's a worker, with all these walls closing in on him. And in the past, what's happened is when you get these kind of crises coming together, very often you get political instability. That was to me the second big takeaway, especially on food security. The president of the World Farmers Association described how there's actually enough food in the world for all of us. The problem is countries specialize in particular types of crops and products, and you really need the trade to flow. But when you block that flows, that's when you get famines. And when you get famines is when you get political crisis. So looking ahead, it does look like some troubled times ahead. There was also a reference to, during a discussion on the new economic Iron Curtain, and one speaker mentioned quite poignantly about how she had lived on the wrong side of the Iron Curtain, and she hated it. And she was worried that we were sort of sleepwalking into a new Cold War, and basically made a passionate plea to try to avoid that and bring countries together to collaborate. And I attended one fascinating session where we actually had a live link with the International Space Station. And a European astronaut called Samantha described how she had two Russian counterparts who are working closely with her as partners, and it was not ideological. And she described how when you look back at the Earth from space, what you see is just one very fragile planet, a very thin layer of atmosphere, but you didn't see any borders, you didn't see any boundaries or divisions. What you saw was a shared humanity and the need for all of us to somehow come together and safeguard this planet. And lastly, I had this morning a session with a bunch of very inspiring young people, and it was a topic about eco-anxiety, about how with all these challenges that we're facing, climate change seems to be pushed to the back burner. But they are worried about the future, and they're angry, they're sad, they're concerned that governments are not doing enough about this issue. But what I find inspiring was they have not allowed anxiety to paralyze them, and they've turned it into agency and action. And they told really inspiring stories about the things they're doing to bring people together, to bring their communities together, and take action to help us deal with this challenge.